Okay then, everybody. So welcome to this training event for the release of the new version of Projector. So what we're going to do today is I'll run you through a few of the updates that have come into Projector that we've released into Projector in the release earlier in the week. Run you through those, what they mean, go through a bit of the workflow, and then have some question time at the end. So the intent is that we will record this video and it will be then placed up onto the website for people to refer to later on. So what I'm going to do is first launch into and show people the new version of Projector. So I'll just bring you guys back so I can see what's going on. Okay. So first things first, if you want to know what has changed as for all version changes, there is a change log on the front page. So if you go to p2rprojector.net.au, support change log, there is a change log for all of the version controls that we've done, versions that we've done, and dates of when they happen, and then a brief description about what has changed in each of these. So if you are interested in what's actually changed, it's listed here. All of the different versions are listed here. To support this change, we've redone, in the process of redoing a lot of these, a lot of the videos that go with this. So I'll show you in a minute that there's a slightly different workflow in the way that in the way that you create a project, create a collection. So there's a slightly different workflow. So we had to redo a lot of these videos. So most of them are done. There's probably one or two missing, but we're working through those and they'll be up here. But there are support here for adding in the new Gully project and the new streambank project, submitting for technical review. So everything we will talk today about, there should be a short video here in this support tutorials section. Another change that we've made to support this is in this how it works section. And if we go to Gully and streambank projects, so we've created a new page here called Gully and streambank projects, and this goes through the process, and I will show, and as we go through this, I'll show you that there's a lot of there's some automatic calls of some different data sources. So silo data is automatically called, and it explains how all that sort of stuff works here in these how it works. One other change that's happened here is that for sugarcane, we did have a whole heap of different how it works pages. So what we've done is consolidated them all now into one single sugarcane page here. So all of those sugarcane things that you might have been used to in the past are all now in one page. We intend on sort of keeping this now into the different project types in here. So yes, you'll have the change log, the tutorials are there, and then these new pages are set up. So what I'm going to do is launch into creating. So what I have here is, this is not actually the live version. This is a test environment, but I want to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the new workflow for the people here who are just here to see how the new workflow and that sort of stuff works. And then I will go later on, as I work through this, we'll go later on into the Gully and streambank projects types, and showing the review and all that sort of stuff. So people who are just here to look at how the new workflow works, sit through the first little bit of it, and then at the end you can log off if you're not interested in the streambank stuff. Okay. So I guess the first thing you'll notice when you do move into a collection is that it looks a little bit different. So in the past, we didn't have this sidebar here, so we now have this sidebar here. Now this sidebar is about managing your collection. So you still get to your collections the same way you always have. Up the top here, select the various collections. But now what you'll see is on the sidebar here is information about that collection. So the information tab tells you the name of the collection, what type of project is in that collection, and then the funding source and funding program. So you no longer set the funding source and funding program on the individual site or the individual projects, you set it at the collection. So everything in that collection will be coming from that funding source. Now, it's only important that's true when you do report to Paddock to Reef. So when a collection does get submitted to Paddock to Reef, make sure that only things that are in this collection are just from this particular funding source. So Queensland Government test and test whatever there. And I'll go back to the cane example. So on the sidebar here, if you click on projects, it will bring up a list or show you the projects that are in this collection. So you'll have the list of the projects here that you can just toggle through and it'll move between them. If you select projects, it'll show you all of the projects in this collection. Now down the bottom here, this looks a little bit similar. We've added a little bit extra functionality into here, which I'll show you. But down the bottom, you'll notice that you still have your projects that are in here listed. You can still sort by saving, size, whatever is important here. You can still sort through those particular things. You can select the various projects and it highlights them on the map, the one that you selected, right? If you want to see the savings for the selected, you can toggle this one here and the savings change. So say you had 30 sites in this collection and you just wanted to know what the savings were for 5 of those, you would select it and then toggle this savings here and it will show you for those 5. Now there's a few new tabs here. You have this find settlement tab. So what this does is it shows you just a bar graph of the different amounts of fine settlement. So it's easier to be able to look through your collection and say, okay, they're the ones that save the most. So fine settlement, DIN, pesticides are in there. The familiar summary one, so this is what it looked like at the beginning of the week. So this is pretty much still the same page. Now another change that's come in is this responses tab. So what this responses tab does is it shows you the responses to all the questions. So question 1, the before and after responses there, all the way through to question 20 if it's relevant for the particular project. What you can do here is you can either click on the individual site, this little arrow here, and it'll give you an option to change the responses for that particular question here. So you'll see that's changed to 1.1 where it was 1.2 before. You can go up to the top here and change them yourself. And you can either do that for the projects selected. Now I don't have any selected, so I won't do anything, or all projects. So we change them all to no, which should be 1.1. So that's updated everything to 1.1. And if I select this one and do the same and go, actually, I'm interested in this and go for selected, it'll do that change only for that selected one there. So we're hoping that this will make life a little bit easier for that prospecting sort of stage where you might be going, okay, I've got 20 sites that I'm interested in, and what if I do a particular practice on these 20 sites or another practice? You can work your way through the different practices. Okay, let's see. So this is the overview page. Now, I'll just show you how the adding projects has changed. Actually, I'll first show you how creating collections changed a little bit as well. So still this create collection button is here. So if we click on that, it brings us to a whole new page. We name our collection here, train. Training. And this is where we set our collection, our project type that we're going to have in the collection. So in the past, you were able to set the project type at the individual project. So the individual site, you would set this. Now, in the way that the update is that you can only have a single project type per collection. So we're going to say it's Kane. We set our provider if we need to, or, in this case, it might be we don't know what we're going to do. And we go over to projects. So just by clicking from here across to projects, that's saved that stuff down. And so we've created our project there. Now we would go through and we'll find a random area. We add a project. Now the workflow here is a little bit different. In the past, it would have gone add a project and popped up and taken you straight into the survey. But now we go add a project, we refine the area. And we were going to do, we draw our area in on our map. That's worked out the size of that area for you. We add our details in here. Example, and then we move into our survey where we would do this as we always have. And I will just quickly throw some stuff in here. Next. And we'll just make a change here to that. Go quickly through here. And we'll say this. And hit save. And it's telling me that I've missed something, or has it? Telling me on this page, so I've missed this scheduling one. So you'll notice up the top here, if there's something missing, it'll come up with a little red triangle. If it's incomplete, it comes up with this orange, and if it's all complete, it's this green tick. So that's gone through and calculated as it always has. So if you want to have a look at what that is, you go back to the location and summary tab. The perceptions of practice tab is being moved. So in the past, it was down here. It's now new tab over here, and you've got your links to all of those bits and pieces over there for you. Okay. So a couple of other things that we've added sort of to help people is we've added a couple of layers that give you a bit of context about, bring some context onto the map. So the state rural properties layer, now for sugarcane, this isn't all that useful, but when you jump into grazing areas, it sort of helps you a little bit look at where the property boundaries and that sort of stuff are. Now, this is just the one that's available on Queensland Globe, so it's as up to date as that layer is. So it's not going to be right in all cases, but it hopefully will give you a bit of a starting point to help through this. The other thing that's added in, and I'll zoom in somewhere so it's quicker to draw, is we've added in a hillshade layer. Now this hillshade, this is the same hillshade layer that's available on Queensland Globe. Now it is slow to draw sometimes, but it hopefully gives you a little bit of context, particularly when we're doing gully projects, about where the gully is and its catchment and all that sort of stuff. So again, it can be toggled on and off. So you can see it is fairly slow to draw, but it does help you identify where the streams are and the little erosion features and where a catchment boundary might end. Okay, so that was what I wanted to cover in the workflow examples. I might just, so from here on, what I'm going to do is move into the Gully and streambank type projects and show you how they work and show you the work through for that. So if anybody wants to leave now, see I've got Kevin Bowden's got his hand up. Do you want to ask a quick question, Kev?
Yeah, mate, just noticed there in your responses tab that when you went to drop, it's got an underscore in the values. Is that not carried through to the spatial export file, is it?
I'd have to double check. I don't think so. I think it is points in the spatial export. But yeah, I think it's still 1.1 rather than 1_1.
Yep. All right. I might have a look. I'll have a look and let you know.
Is there a project search function in the chat? What do you mean by project search function? If you had a big,
I might
long
talk
list.
if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, it's Leah. I mean, yeah, I've got quite a long list. I've got like 94 projects. So my question is, can I search by project title? You know, if I was searching for project number 112, for example, I can't. I've never been able to do that, and I just wondered if it's there somewhere and I don't know about it.
No, we don't have that in.
Okay, that's all right.
So you'll just have to, unfortunately, scroll through here. So if you do have 94 in here, you can scroll through them, that sort of stuff. Yeah, you can move projects, right? Like if you wanted to move this into a different collection, right? So you can create a different collection and projects can be moved between collections. Okay. So I've got a training collection there that I just created, so I can move that site and that moves straight away. And that site's now in that, well, that's the training site I created, and then that's that DAF site that was there in that other collection. So you can move between here if you wanted to have smaller collections.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And just for your information, Adam, the spatial export GeoJSON file has the decimal point, which is great.
Yep. Okay, so what I'll do now is launch into the toolbox, the new Gully and new streambank type. So as I was saying before, what we've done is at this collection level, we have split out of grazing. So grazing did have a gully and a streambank type in it. So out of grazing, we've pulled the gully type out, and what was in the old gully is now replaced by this new workflow, and the streambank, same thing. So that what was in the old grazing project type is replaced by this new workflow in streams. So for this one here, I'm going to start with the gully type, and then I'll show the stream type after. So we go to the projects, and we can see I've got some projects drawn in here. They're all over the place, but down the bottom here, the same old, you can see I've got the different, the same summary tab that we've had. But as we go into a project, you'll see we've actually got a few more tabs up the top here. So for normal projects, we would have a location and summary, project details, survey, and the perceptions of practice. But for gullies and streambanks, we also have a review tab. And I'll show that in a second. So what we would do now, what we might do is we might create a new project. So hit the add project button, we go and find our site, and we go, our gully just lives here. Draw our gully in. So the reason that we changed the workflow to draw the gully in will start to become apparent as I work through this. So the first thing we do is we draw where our gully site is. Now, then we move on to give it a name. My internet is not happy today. We do some stuff. To me, we'll leave that. And we'll add the cost. So we're going to spend 500,000 on this gully. Then we move to survey. So in this case, the survey for this is actually the what would have been the old GCAT or SECAT. So the question's in here. So when we move over to the survey area, we get an option to what will be the method we will use to determine the historic erosion rate. So the recent period method, for those of you aware of the toolbox and the methodology in it, recent period is the preferred, or we can go to whole of life. And you'll notice as I change the different toggles, we get different questions here. So we're going to use the recent period method, and we're going to give it a start date. So we've got our first DEM, right? It was done in 2014, and we just flew another one last week, 2013. So it's given us 10, we've got a 10 years of between our two sites. Now our DEM, we've been able to calculate a DEM of difference between the two, but if we hadn't, we were able to do a change in area and add our start area and our end area. If we did have a DEM depth, we can enter that here. If we didn't, we can use field measurements here and add it in. But what I'm going to do is go back to the preferred method. So the DEM of difference shows us that that gully has increased by 50,000 cubes. Now we move over to the climate correction factor. Now, based on that polygon that we drew in before, the projector has gone off to the silo grid data and it's calculated a climate correction factor. So we can choose to take that one if we want, or we can choose to override it and add our own in. So we might have a long-term rain gauge right at this site. The closest silo one might be 30 or 40 kilometers, right? The closest bomb weather gauge might be 20 or 30 kilometers away. So silo does a bit of averaging between the sites, and we mightn't trust that as much as the one at site. So we might actually choose to say, recently we've observed 680 mils of rain per year, and the long-term average for this site is actually 701 mils of rain per year. So that'll give us a different correction factor. So like I said, we can choose to use the one that is automatically there. So if you were just prospecting, looking for gullies that you may want to work on, this may be good enough for you at this stage here. We add an age of the gully in here. So over or under 50 years, we're going to say it's this one. And then this last box down here is for additional erosion sources that aren't captured in this. So downwearing is an example of that. Now in this hover over here, it tells you that downwearing value must have the climate correction factor already calculated. Now that's because the downwearing may be observed at a different period to your DEMs up here. So you've got, our first DEM was 2014, our latest one was 2023, but our downwearing may have been from 2020 to 2023. So we can't use this climate correction factor on this here. So if you do need to add it in, you add it in here, and it must be corrected outside of Projector before it's entered in here. Or if you don't have it, you leave it blank. Go to next. So the next thing we have here is that based on that polygon that we drew that site we drew in before, we've gone off and we've looked at this SLGA, which is a national soil grid data hosted by Turn. It's gone off and it's looked at the bulk density for the site, and Rob will correct me in the chat, but I believe it's from the 30 to 60 centimeter range. There you go, 30 to 60 centimeter range for this. So it's pulled the bulk density, and it's pulled the clay silt, so the silt clay percentage from that. Now, again, we're able to override this if we want. So what I'm going to do here is actually override this and say it's actually 1.52, because I've done some soil tests here, and this is actually 30%. Now, a new thing that has come in, this wasn't in the old LCAT, GCAT and SECAT, or GCAT particularly, is this connectedness to the stream. So gullies are either directly connected to the stream or part of the mainstream. Think alluvial type gullies who you would normally be here. They might be not directly connected to the stream, but very close. They might be further than 50 meters from the main stream through a degraded landscape. So think, scalds, nude, like nothing on the ground there, or we could have it's quite a way away through quite a natural landscape. And you'll see here that it changes the delivery to the stream ratio. So these numbers here are the delivery to the stream ratio. So we're going to say it's actually right on the edge, because that one I drew in is actually right on the stream bank. And then we go next. This is where we go through and we tick the type of intervention we were doing. So the hover over here shows you, and this is directly from the Gully and Streambank toolbox here. So you've got the hover over here, and we've actually put a link, and that links directly to the PDF. So if you click that, it'll download the Gully and Streambank toolbox for you. So it talks about what these actually mean in terms of the Gully and Streambank, or the Gully toolbox. So fencing and grazing, fencing new or existing is compulsory, and some sort of grazing restriction and weed control is compulsory too for these types of projects. And then we would go through and tick the things we're going to do. So we're just going to do some porous check dams there, and we're going to do a gully head rock shoot. We hit save, and this is going to go back to our location and summary, and this is now calculated based on what we have in there, that the fine sediment saving is going to be 1,200 tonnes at whatever I said it was in terms of price. It's going to end up with $407 per tonne. We've calculated the particulate P saved and the particulate N saved. So, and if we want to look a bit deeper, we can go to this review tab. So we move to this review tab, and it gives you the detail, it gives you all of the details there of what you've actually, the important things that were entered here. So project costs, number of attachments, I'll show you what that means in a second. It tells you the method that it was used. It tells you the change in dimensions method. We haven't put in a gully depth yet. Gives you the climate correction factor, and you see that I actually added a manual one in there. If I had used an auto one, it would have said auto. It shows that I've put in the bulk density manually. It shows that I added the clay and silt manually as well. It also shows you the efficacy of the intervention. So it lists the interventions that you're doing in this on this site, and it shows you the efficacy that was selected. So what this does is it goes through and it says, if you've, in this case, there's 3 things that are having an impact, but it says, well, the one that has the most impact is this Gully rockhead. So it's not cumulative, these, it just picks the one that has the most impact, which is this Gully rockhead. So this is the one we're using. Gives you the details about the historic erosion rate, the baseline erosion rate, the calculated fine sediment at site, the reef delivery ratio. So in the past, you had to put that in, whereas now what we do is we actually look up. So we've put a layer in the back end, which has always been there for reef projects, and we look up and we say, okay, based on the paddock to reef modeling, the delivery ratio at that site is this. So we've got that. We've got a stream delivery ratio. Gives you the nitrogen proportion, the phosphorus proportion. So that's again from that soil grid layer. Gives you the dollars per ton. Gives you the tons per year that we're saving, and particulate N and particulate P. So now what we do is we work through the rest of these tabs. So required evidence. Now, based on what we've selected back in the survey, you'll be required to provide evidence of these things. So the recent period, DM of differences. So these are just check boxes that you would work through, saying I've done those things. So you check that off. You can add a bit of extra context here about the project or for the reviewer, and you can upload attachments. So I'm going to upload a picture of myself, because that's always helps. And that's there. So anything that is in these file types is able to be uploaded. We move through to the spatial context. Now, because we'd selected, well, we have to do grazing and fencing management. We selected porous check dams and a gully head rock shoot. We've got these options. So we want to know what the drainage area, the drainage catchment is. So this one's only draining from a smallish area about that big. We're going to put a new fence in here, and we're going to say this fence goes down. It actually attaches to an existing fence that's there. We're going to say we're going to restrict grazing from this area here. So this is all contextual stuff that will help reviewers understand what's actually happening with the project. Putting a porous check dam in, I'm going to draw this as an area. So there's going to be one just here. Now I'm going to put another one in just there. And I'm going to draw my gully head rock shoot just here at the gully head. Okay, so now I've entered in my spatial context. I've got some ideas about how big the catchment is, how long the new fencing is, the restricted area, grazing restricted area, and a few other things. So you would have noticed as I was going through the survey that there was a lot of things that in the GCAT and CCAT you were required to add, but they didn't actually impact on the calculation of the sediment saving. So what we've done is we've actually moved those things to the back end here. So one of those things was the soil order. So again, we've automatically pulled that soil order based on the polygon that's there, but we can override that if we want to. So we're going to say it's a vertisoil. We're going to say we've done our soil PED stability test on it, and we're going to say it's pretty stable. And we're going to say the maximum depth of this gully is 3 meters. So we've added that there. Then we move over to the reviewer conversation. Now, what this here is a chat function between you and the reviewer. So once all of these areas are green, you're able to submit this to a reviewer. So what you can do here is you can go, hey, this is ready to go. and we can put a chat in here. So we've made sure that all of our boxes here are green. We go back to our submission summary page. We select our review group. So what will happen here once review groups are set up in Projector is there will be review groups, and we envisage this being for particular funded programs, right? So Reef Trust, whatever, Gully's in a particular area will have its own review group. So you would select your review group from this list. I'm going to select the reviewer one, and I'm going to hit submit for technical review. Okay, so this is so that has now been sent off to the reviewer, and the reviewer will get an email saying that it's ready for review, and we'll start your conversation with the reviewer here. So your reviewer may come back and say, oh, look, you need to add some more evidence around X, Y, and Z. Okay, so what I will do now is I will show you how a streambank one works, and then I'll go into how the review process works. So if we jump over into streambanks, again, I've got a few sites here that I've done, and you can see your review there. And what I will do, is I will actually just show you how we'll go in and look at a site. So again, I've drawn in an area here. So this is, actually, let's go to this one. So I've drawn in my site. I've given it a name and I've given it a budget. Gone through the survey. I've decided to use a recent period. I've put in my start and end years. This has automatically calculated the eroded stream bank based on that line that I had. This is overrideable. If I actually think it's 0.5 is 500 meters, I can override that. I've used DM of difference here, but I can, if I want to, override that with the field measurements. Put my stuff back in here. Now, I can choose to use the silo grid data here for the climate correction, or I can use a recent period average. So we might use a recent period average, and this could be rainfall if that's all you have, or I think in the toolbox it actually says stream power or stream volume or something like that. I can't remember, but let's say what we observed is 6.4 somethings, and the long-term average is actually 6. So we've calculated a factor there. When we go next, again, it's done the same thing. It has gone and looked up that soil grid, and it said this is the bulk density and this is the clay silt. We don't know any better, so we're just going to leave that there. We're going to go through, and in this case here, I've gone, well, I'm not doing either of these things that are listed in the toolbox. What I'm actually doing is something different. So, and my effectiveness ratio is actually 0.8. So I think I'm going to do, save 80% of the sediment there. And it gives a description here. Lots of work, but mostly lots of concrete. Save that. And I'm missing something here. Oops, I didn't add that in. So again, it gave me that there was something missing here, and it showed me which page, and that shows me where I'm missing things. So I didn't select this one. So we'll save that again. And we can go to the review tab. So you'll see here that we have a couple of this information box here. So what we believe will happen with projects in the future is that there will be tier types for projects. So there'll be cutoffs for projects. So if a project is over 100,000, in this example, it must be submitted for technical review. But if it's under 100,000, so if we went and changed the project cost, we wouldn't have to submit this for technical review, we'd be able to do it straight away. But this one here, because it's 500,000, it needs to be submitted for technical review in this case. Okay, so we've got our here. We need to upload our required evidence. We draw in our spatial stuff. I'm not going to do that. Landscape. So spatial context is still the same thing. So we're going to say we're doing some grazing restriction here. And we've put a new fence in. And it goes like that. Joins to an existing one there. We do our landscape context and we get to our review page. So that's how that site works. Now, with the grazing projects being pulled, the grazing streambank projects being moved out of being moved across to this methodology. I'll show you how a streambank one would, a fencing one would work. So if I select the fencing project and we go back here, so what I've done here is I said, we're going to fence, this is the stream bank here that's going to be protected. Added my cost in here, then gone survey. And what I've used here is the catchment modeled method. And in this catchment modeled method, we're looking up the tons per kilometre generation rates that are in the catchment model, and we're pulling them directly in here. We've used the length of the eroded stream bank based on the drawing. So in this case, there was 3.6 kilometres of stream bank drawn. Again, can be overridden. The total is here of what's in a catchment. We ask whether you're doing one or both sides. In this case, we're just going to do one side. Then we've pulled the automatic data from here, and we've just got a fencing and re-veg, grazing restriction and weed control. So we've just left that as it is. And this is calculated that we're going to save 3.1 tonnes of sediment per year by fencing that area off. Now, because this is just a stream bank one, this probably won't need to be reviewed, so you'll be able to just continue on with this one. Okay, I see. I'll just look quickly at the chat. Question from Jade that looks like it was answered by Rob, and I see Lex asking, hi Adam, the technical review will be determined by the funder. The Australian government approaches to the refer to reviewer. These Australian government approaches to the refer to reviewer tab. Thanks. Are you?
I just mean the limits that you put in, Adam.
No. These are just examples, Lex. This is just a testing. So they'll be determined, yes, by the funder. And these ones that we're showing right now are just this isn't actually the live site. So these are just set in here to show how that could work. So if, for instance, there was a limit of $1,500 per tonne put in on a particular and at this area here on this particular funded program, right? This one here is going over that $1,500 per tonne. So this will be set. We see that this will be set at the funded program level. Okay, so that's in there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is show you how a review works. So if there will be separate roles for people. So there, at the moment, you're a when you get your login, you're either a administrator or a user. That really just determines some of your privileges in the site. So users can't add new people or submit projects for reporting. What reviewers will do is they'll actually live in it. There'll be a different group for them, and they'll be able to receive reviewed projects. So what I'll do is I'll jump over to the reviewer area, and what will be here, so it looks slightly different if you're logged in as a reviewer. So you will, the my collections area looks slightly different. So we'll say I'm looking for collections, sites that are pending review. So this is Adam's Streambanks, Adam's Toolbox test. So that one was the one we were looking at just before. So you can see in this collection, I've got 2 sites that I've submitted for review in this collection. There's the 2 sites there. As a reviewer, I can see these sites. I can see the amount. I can see the responses to it. Okay, so I'm able to quickly look through, see what's in here. If I select on an individual site, I can go into, that shows me where it is in the map. I can zoom in and out and look around where it is. I can see summary details here. I can look at this. I can see my budget, some comments here. I can look at the survey. I can see what's been entered into this survey, but I'm not reviewers are not able to edit any of this. So none of this stuff is editable as a reviewer. I go to the review tab and I can go through, I get some summary stuff here. I can see the climate correction factor for this one was manually imported. I can see that the bulk density in clay silver automatically, so I know that comes from the grid data. I can see how it was calculated. I can see the tons per year, the fine sediment, all that sort of stuff. I can look at the recent period. I can look at what you've added into this stuff here. If there was attachments, and there's not on this one, there might be on that one there. So on this one, there's an attachment, and you can see that picture of myself. I can get that. I can download that attachment if I need to. So if it was a spreadsheet, and the reviewer wants to look at the spreadsheet, they can download it and go through the spreadsheet, or a technical report that's available there to be downloaded. I can go to this spatial context one and have a look at it. I can see where the site is, where your proposed fencing is going to be, where the drainage catchment's going to be, where the grazing restriction is, all of that sort of stuff. The reviewer can see that, can see the landscape context. I can see the comments. I can add my own comments. This is rubbish. Send that. We can have a back and forth conversation with it, or need to do some soil tests. All of the conversation is recorded here, so you're able to go through that. Now, once this has gone back and forth and the reviewer is happy with what's here, so what would happen is they would say, do some soil tests. You as the person who's uploaded this would go and either do those soil tests or do whatever you needed there, and upload that evidence. You might need to go in here and adjust some of these factors. So if you've done soil tests, this one's this one's pulling the actual stuff. So you may need to go in and edit this. The reviewer can't edit it, so you would have to do it and show them. Once the reviewer is happy that everything's done, they can change this to endorsed or revised. So they would endorse this project. So it now changes its status to endorsed. And that's the review process done. So if we go back into the group and into training and into this one, and I think it was 4, and we go to the review, you now see that that's been changed to endorsed. So endorsed means that the reviewer is happy with it and they've given you the green light to go ahead and start doing the on-ground works for it. Okay, so that is how the new project types work in Projector.